Hi guys, this is Alex from Mason Lifestyle again. I hope you guys are doing well. We have one more month to go for summer. So last week or the week before, we had done that McCalls pattern that was fabric hogger, and I had a yard and a half left. Believe it or not, a yard and a half left. So I said, what can we make? So I remember the way I got this awesome pattern is M8219, and today we're going to be doing view C. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, guys, I am working on McCall's M8219, and this pattern comes in two different size ranges, from 6 to 14 and 16 to 24, and I am doing view C. I had to make some modifications to my pattern pieces, but let me show you the pattern pieces that you are going to need. You're going to need pattern piece number 6, and this is the back, and you're going to cut 2. You're also going to need pattern piece number 7, and this is the upper front, and you're going to cut 2. You're also going to need pattern piece number 8, and this is the lower front, and you're going to cut 1 on the fold. And then you're also going to need pattern piece number 9, and this is the sleeve, and you're going to cut 2. So go ahead and don't forget to mark your dots, clip your notches, and cut your fabric on the grain. Okay, so we cut our pieces. So the pattern's asking us to grab our pieces number 6, and this is the back. And you are going to grab seam binding or stay tape. And what the pattern is asking you is to go ahead and put these at the shoulders, because they don't want your shoulders to stretch. Don't forget you're working with knits, so you are going to have to use a zigzag stitch or a lightning stitch or whatnot. So go ahead and pin your seam binding by the shoulders. Go ahead and do a 5/8 inch seam allowance on both sides. Once you do that, they want you to, with right sides together, they want you to go ahead and stitch the back. Okay guys, so go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start, and at the end, don't forget you're working with knits, so you need to do a zigzag or a lightning bolt stitch, narrow lightning bolt stitch. And again, don't forget to use seam binding at the shoulders. You're not going to stitch the shoulders together, you're just going to use seam binding tape at the shoulders, so it prevents them from stretching. So go ahead and do that now. All right guys, so I did my seam binding at the shoulders. I also stitched my back. I serged it. Again, you're working with knits, so they will not unravel. I just like to serge my garments so they look a little bit more finished. So now I want you to stay stitch this back of your neckline, and remember, stay stitch is to stitch 1/2 inch away from the raw edge. So go ahead and do that now. So we went ahead and we did our stay stitching 1/2 inch away from the raw edge. So now you're going to grab your bias tape and you are going to press, and this is single fold. You're going to press one side lightly open, and what you want to do is you want to pin your bias tape, and you want to stitch right on that fold, and you want to make sure that your edges are raw edge to raw edge. And you can cut this piece. I'm just going to leave it long in case I'm in the machine and I need to cut that out or I need a little extra. But again, you want to pin your bias tape raw edge to raw edge, and I'm doing this on the right side. Once I stitch on that little ditch, I'm going to turn my bias tape over. So go ahead and do that now. All right, guys. So I went ahead and stitched in my bias tape on that little groove, on the first groove. Now I want you to turn over your bias tape, and I want you to give it a really good press, and I want you to baste this in. So I want you to baste on this edge all the way around. So go ahead and do that now. So I went ahead now and stitched in my bias tape, right? And I also, the pattern's asking you for you to grab piece number 7 and that you finish that facing. So now with right sides together, you're going to grab your pieces, and you are going to match the matches. And remember, we're going to fold those facings, so that's why they wanted you to go ahead and finish them. So now that you have both pieces pinned at the shoulders, I want you to go ahead and baste. So the pattern is asking you to baste both pieces at the shoulder, stopped right at the edge, because remember, this area of that pattern piece, we are going to fold it in. So go ahead and attach your front bodice pieces at the shoulders. Go ahead and do that now. So I went ahead and I stitched in piece number 7, okay, at the shoulders. And now I want you to go ahead and turn this. And I want you see the fold line here on the pattern. This line right there on the pattern. I want you to fold. I have little dots on mine. I want you to fold, and you have a little notch down here. I want you to match that notch. And you can baste this on this side. You probably should, because you don't want any of that to move. And then if you want to finish your seams, you can also do that, but I want to make sure that you are folding this and attaching it to the front seam line and not that back one. Okay? So again, I'm going to do this for the other side. So you have piece number 7, and I want you to go ahead and fold it down, and then fold, and you have a little notch down here. There's 2 notches. Put it on the first one, and I want you to baste right there. And of course, pressing always helps. And I want you to also baste this up here. Okay, so I want you to do that for both front facings. Go ahead and do that now. All right, guys, now that we went ahead and stitched our facing, and if you wonder how I did that, I just pretty much just turned it over and stitched. Okay, I did not stitch in the ditch. I just stitched on that seam allowance. You want this to stretch a little, so you do not want it to stitch to the back seam allowance. You want to stitch it to the front, and then I also basted. Now I'm going to grab my 2 pieces. and you want to match these notches down here. So left in front of right, and then again go ahead and baste. So I went ahead and basted my front facings, and now I'm going to grab my front, my lower front, and you have 2 notches. So you're going to match those notches to the front. Again, with right sides together. So again, this is the lower front. I have it all pinned, and I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. Go ahead and do that now. All right, now that we pinned our top to our front bottom, I want you to go ahead and that you pin the sides. Go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. All right, so we sewed in our side seams. I tried it on. It's wonderful. Once you're happy with the fit of the bodice, put it off to the side, and I want you to grab your sleeves, and I want you to do 2 rows of basting stitches. And again, I want to make sure that you do 2 rows of basting stitches so we can go ahead and ease our fabric. So again, you have 3 dots, 1, 2, 3. Do 2 rows of basting stitches from dot to dot around the edge. So go ahead and do that now for both sleeves. All right, so I went ahead and did 2 rows of gathering stitches for both sleeves, and I left my threads long because remember, we want to pull on these, so do not backstitch. You want to make sure that you have enough thread so you can pull this so we can ease the sleeves. So once you have that done, I want you to go ahead and pin your sleeves and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end for both sleeves. If you want to serge your sleeve, if you want to finish the seams, go right ahead and also do that. So your sleeve is going to look like this. Now, I want you to pull on those threads ever so slightly. Now I'm going to grab my bodice. And let's see which sleeve I have. So that is the back. It's actually this one. So we are going to start by matching up our seams. Right. And again, as always, 1 notch means the front. 2 notches mean the back. Grab my sleeve from the inside so you guys can see it, and then again match your 2 notches right there. And then you have those 3 dots, which I am going to look for mine. They were around here. So there's one. I'm going to put a pin right there because it is pretty darn light. Here's that one. So I want to pin that right there. And there's another dot, or in your pattern piece, it's a triangle. And that means the shoulder seam. And you have the shoulder seam and then that other dot. So go ahead and pin. And I want you to stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. So one thing to note, when I am stitching in the sleeve into the armhole, I like to put that sleeve piece towards the feed dogs. That will help me ease the sleeve into the armhole. And as I'm stitching it in, I'm making sure that I don't have any ripples in the fabric at 5/8. So again, I have to go a little slow and adjust and stitch. All right, so I did my sleeves and seams are matching. I don't have any puckers, but if you do, just take out like 1.5 inches, right? If your pucker is right in the middle, just take out 1.5 inches or 2 inches. You don't have to take out the entire sleeve, just in that area, and go ahead and ease it back in, okay? So now that you have your sleeves and your bodice, all you have left is do your hem on your sleeves and then do your hem on the bottom. And of course, try it on, see how much hem do you want, but you can do a narrow hem. I'm probably just going to serge and just do a double stitch with my double needle. So that's it, guys. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that sew along. Next week, we're going to be doing a pattern haul because I don't know if you guys noticed, but a lot of the fall patterns are coming out. So next week, again, we're going to be doing a pattern haul, and I would definitely love to know what are you guys going to be working in for fall. But as always, please don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you next week. Bye.